my book is not about opening only, but the entire game, from opening to middle game and then to end game. So illustrating how to handle that opening in a real game. So that's the thing that many people get it wrong. They think that my book is about just opening. No, no, no. So don't go through a book and then say that I've read it and I'm not improving. That's a total lie. Repeat the book over and over and over and come and tell you if you have not improved. And if you have not really improved, then chess is not for you. But don't go through a book just once and then you say that, I've gone through the book, now I'm ready to be a champ. No, no, no. Go through it like 3 times. Cram some position, cram some games. Yeah? And I'm telling you, people like Magana, eh? You'll be upsetting them. There are some games whereby I almost cried. I almost cried, literally tearful. Yeah, I remember Magligeo. There's a time I was playing against him at KCB Open. Those time I used to have a lot of ego. That I used to be good. I'll always be top 10, no matter what. And to be honest, that's how I used to go. And that time, Methu was coaching him. He came and told me, "Hey, KD, don't underestimate that young kid." And I was like, that one, in fact, I'll be playing and walking around looking at games because I never took him very seriously. Okay. So, while I was doing that, making a move, like I was taking like less than 10 seconds. I come and look at the chessboard, make a move. I stand up, I walk around. Come and look at the chessboard, take like 5 seconds, make a move, wake up. And then the funny thing is this young lad outwitted me. Yeah. In fact, he was almost winning the game. I had to use a trick, yeah, in order to draw. In fact, I was the one begging for a draw. Yeah? I'm not disputing Chess Kenya is doing a lot. In fact, giving a card to an individual is something that is well accepted, well motivated, and should be encouraged. But look at this in the bigger picture. Why don't you do something for a bigger community? For example, why don't you increase the price tag of the league money? I was told they were paid 300,000. Why don't you put a zero and say, let's pay them 3 million for number one? And then number two, let's pay them 2 million. And then number three, let's pay them 1 million. I know it's like I'm looking like I'm a critic, but I'm calling the kettle black as it is. If you want to make an impact by giving someone a car, an individual, then it is only fair that if you give a group of team members, yeah, something like 3 cars or each member a car. Yeah, they won the league. Why don't we give them each a car?
He's arguably one of Kenya's finest chess players, I'm telling you. Also a chess trainer, an ICT guru, and the latest chess author in town. Author of the book Chess Beginner's Manual. This is a book that promises to take you from beginner level up to professional level, and we'll get to know more about that. I'm talking about the one and only Brian Adorwa is in the house. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Eugene, for having me in the studio. And we commend the work you're doing to sponsor the game. A game of chess is something new. It's not like football. Football has been there with us for many years, but at least chess, we're trying to grab the center stage. So this is commendable what you're doing, trying to spread the word of chess.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for making the time. This is much, much appreciated. And I think we can just get right into it. Brian Adorwa, I've known you for not a very long time because I'm quite young in the chess scene. But looking you up online, you are one of Kenya's top chess players. I'm talking multiple Olympiad qualifiers, a very experienced coach. And now, the subject of today, your book. We'll talk about that a bit later. Maybe you can start off just telling us how you got into chess, then we can pick it from there.
That's a good question. I tend to think my life in chess began when I was in high school. I went to Highway Secondary School. That's where I did my high schools. And then something funny, that's where I met, I don't know if you know Brian Toboso.
Yes, Brian Toboso. I know him as the one who manages logistics for Chess Kenya.
Yes, yeah, that's the one. So when I went there, there I was just a novice in the game of chess, yeah. And then now when I met him, he's one of the person who tried to challenge me. And with time, he keep pushed me to the next level. And then when we finished high school, he's the one who introduced me to Islam Chess Club. Now there is where I started my journey as a chess coach and proficiency in playing. Yeah, because in Islam Chess Club at that time it was like KCB. KCB right now, whereby like all the talent usually go there. So
Yes.
Islam Chess Club at that time was renowned for producing top tier players around Kenya. And so being privileged to be training there, that's how I began my journey as a chess player. And then with time, I built interest in exploring other avenues like playing in the league. That's why when the likes of Isaac Babu and Terence Chazima and officials on Chess Kenya, those are the guys who tried to get us registered in the league, and that's where we started to get exposure. Okay, so from there, with every talent, yeah, when people see you performing on the chessboard, they develop interest. So from there, I went from Islam Chess Club to Nacha Chess Club, yeah. And then while playing at Nacha, that's where they started to give me also training options to train in schools and other avenues, yeah, like private students, yeah. And then while I was playing for Nacha again, when you perform well, like for example, when most of the Olympics qualifiers, I usually reach the final round. Like I believe around four of them, I've almost reached the final round, but I've never qualified to go to the Olympiad. That's the sad thing. So during those numerous attempts, that's when I was poached by Equity to play for them. That was in I think 2016, 17 there. And then in Equity, I continued playing professionally up to 2023. That's when I decided not to try to explore other avenues. That's when I moved out of Equity and tried to set up some academy and also see how I can make the game develop better. So one of the things I thought out is that when I used to go and teach in these schools, the teachers used to ask me, "Can you share with us the notes how you teach this game of chess?" And I was always told them, uh, most of the things that I usually share with the students, I usually get them online. But then, according to them, they didn't have that hassle of researching and then developing content and then presenting to the student. So that's why I came up with the idea of writing a book. The main aim of the book was to take a beginner from learning the basic. Most of these kids, yeah, they usually taught like just how the pieces move, okay, and then they are given some basics, principle: control the center, don't move piece more than twice, so small basic. But there was no way to maintain that. So the idea of writing a book was in a way to maintain that, whereby the kid, yes, has learned how to play the game of chess, but how do we make the playing consistency in a way that they'll be able to develop and become professional in their art? Okay. So when you look at the book, that's basically what it entails, trying to bring out this guy from the beginner to master level.
Just backtracking a bit to your geek days. I believe this was a time when you were playing competitive chess.
Mm.
Well, at this time, you are in campus or working.
At that time, I was working as an ICT officer at one of the colleges in Nairobi, and I was the assistant system admin, dealing with software installation, troubleshooting help desk problem, trying to connect the Okubwa's mails from the Exchange 2000. I don't know if you are in IT. Those are the things I used to do, yeah. Basically a system admin job, yeah, but I was in an assistant role. And then now I was trying to balance doing the work Monday to Friday and then trying to teach chess on weekends, because I remember we used to hold holiday sessions and weekend sessions when I was in Nacha. But then let me say that I've not been in Nacha, but I've been in most of these academies. Talk about Terran Chess Africa. I've been with them. I've coached with them. Talk about Waridi Chess Academy. I've been with them. Yeah. So saying Nacha is only that when I was in Nacha, I also played their league. So they tend to form a bigger chunk of my exposure. But I've worked with different academies in order to bring out the game of chess to the student. So back to your question, yeah, it's a challenge to balance working and teaching chess. So it reached a time when I had to give one up. Okay, yeah. So ultimately in 2019, I decided to give up a system admin job and follow up with chess. Sometimes I guess it's just passion for the game, and also I was comparing the two in terms of how is this benefiting me. You see, when in any discipline, and that is something that we should encourage our youth. Yeah, I'm lucky that I got exposure for almost like I think I worked almost for 5 years and more, so I got that exposure. Okay, at least with that I've been able to become an independent freelancer. I get one or two projects in IT, and again I go back, I train chess. So for every upcoming player, I'll encourage them to balance also education, because you don't know if chess will pay the bills in the house. That's the sad thing they don't tell them. You don't know if chess will pay the bills in the house. So try and balance. Because remember, at the end of the day, it's all about getting the Benjamins. You will not be eating stones at the house, especially when you have a family. So you need to balance. Yeah.
Chess in itself is like a whole course,
Mm.
right? It's quite, and I don't want to say complex or difficult, but it's quite demanding, for lack of a better word. So there's
Mm.
chess, and then there's the professional IT. I'm also in the IT sector, and
Hmm.
IT is just a whole field on its own. So, what
Yeah,
would you
true.
say to someone who there's this word in chess called prodigy? Someone who's just genuinely interested in chess, and they
Mm.
are thinking of after high school just taking chess professionally. Like, I don't want to do anything else. My life
Mm.
is chess. Because look at it this way: when you decided to do chess seriously, that was, I think, after campus. I want to believe, in your 20s.
Mm. Yeah, past 20s. Yeah.
Ideally, someone said, I don't remember who, but there's someone who
Mm.
said, if you're not a GM by age 14, please dash your hopes of ever making it in chess.
Hey, who said that?
But
Okay. I am getting the point, but I'm getting the point. Yes. Yeah. That's a good question, Eugenia. Yeah, definitely. You see, chess. First of all, let me say this: chess in itself is hard. That's the thing we're not telling people. Yeah. In fact, if you're to watch the life of these grandmasters, they develop so much time on developing their art. Okay. I'm talking about Carlsen, for example. Yeah. Him and his dad used to travel all over Europe trying to get tournaments so that he will, because now you see, first of all, the parents will ask themselves, okay, if the child is passionate and I want to support them, they should understand the consequences, okay? They should not support the child half-heartedly. Let me give example of this prodigy in Kenya called Jadon. Jadon has good potentials, okay? And to be honest, people don't say it the way it is, but grandmaster out there are paid a lot, really a lot. For example, in Canada, because I have some one or two students in Canada, a grandmaster is paid around $100 per session. $100 per session. You see, if you are to calculate that $100 per session, that is almost like is it 13K? And the per session is less than 1.5 to 2 hours. 1.5 to 2 hours. Okay. So outside Kenya, the game of chess pays well. Pays well. I'm telling you, you can live on chess only, but it depends where you are. Okay. But in Africa, the game has not yet developed. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe in the next 10 years, when we have reached the level of awareness like football, okay? Now chess will move to a higher level. For example, you'll get things like coaches, yeah? Like, for example, right now, we like, for example, when you're taking our national team to the Olympiad, what do? We employ local coaches. But look at football. When you're taking the football national team to the African Cup of Nations, who do we employ? We employ some reputable coaches like McCarthy. Okay? So back to the question. If your kid is a
prodigy,
and you think that that's how you want her way to go, because remember you're the parent, you have the last say on how the direction will follow. Okay? So if you want your kid to go the chess way, invest fully. Okay? For example, there are many books. In fact, I should say that chess is divided into three portions. Yeah, there's opening, there's middle game, and there's end game. And there are numerous books on all these areas. Okay, in fact, a grandmaster is like a PhD holder because that is the highest level in the game of chess. Okay, so if you think PhD holder usually takes a lot of time to reach that stage, then the same goes for chess. You need to invest a lot, especially in going through those resources. And one of the resources is going through books. You see, you should learn from other people's mistakes in order to be a better person so that you don't repeat the same mistakes.
very
Okay?
true. Yes.
So a prodigy, you need to go through that process. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. Yeah.
Speaking of books, this is quite a difficult question because looking at the title perspective, should we really
Mm.
focus on now? This is a layman asking. Just they hear about titles, candidate master, grandmaster. There's this
Mm.
clamor to get to GM at the youngest age possible. Actually, the title GM right now, there are less than 2,000 grandmasters in the entire world.
Yes.
Less than 2,000. So, is it about getting the title as fast as possible, even getting the title, or just improving? Because I'm looking at it from the perspective of the recent KCB Open that was in 2025, the
Mhm.
perspective of being underrated. We had a junior player, the name is Paul Orlando Jr., who beat one of
The IM.
Zambia's finest, I am
Yeah.
Chitumbo Mwale, plus other numerous juniors who are upcoming yet not titled. Even our senior players. There was a player who played in the Olympiad in India. Her game was even featured by Gotham Chess. The rating difference was about 400 points.
This is the craziest, in my opinion. Cynthia Awino Obondo from Kenya versus Alessia Mihaila Siolacu. I know Ku is like, it's from Romania. I probably mispronounced it. But 1439 versus 2163. And the game was just very chill. I mean, White played the Kali system, the Indian game, Black played Double Fee and Keto. And I mean, not a whole lot going on from the opening. Black better, for sure, right? And now Black is going to kind of do the higher rated thing, which is, all right, I created some imbalance. Like, let me try to win this game. All right, this is what I have to work with. White has an isolated pawn in the center. Not a whole lot, like, way to advance it. So Black's just going to slowly take the game over, even allowing the damaging of a structure to get the C file, get the B file, right? And Rook C1, and what is White doing? White's just playing. Like, White's at the Olympiad, dude. Like, I'm just going to enjoy myself, right? Knight D5. Black's got nice position, but it's anything but over. Bishop B2, Rook B8, and now problems are coming. First of all, the pawn might fall, right? So the pawn falls, takes, Bishop D5, and the following position, where Black is just a clean pawn up. White has irreparable damage near the king. We have Queen C2, E5, Queen C3, and all of a sudden, some questions being asked, right? Rook C8, Queen B2, just hanging on, no checkmate. F3, White is defending, all right? White is worse, but White is defending. It's like in sports. You're losing, you don't just give up, you just keep playing, right? Black has to win the game. King G2, King G8. Black doesn't like the pin very much and tries to play for E4. White blockades. So now what? Rook D8, Rook E2. Black is just not going away, all right? Black's just not going... Wait a minute. Sorry, White's not going away. Now you kind of look at this, you're like, what is Black's next move? What is Black going to do? Well, Black tries to, trade the queens. and blunders on move 38 because you needed 2 more moves to make the time control. Rook d2! Oh my goodness! And if you take the queen, it's a Zwischenzug. It's rook d8 check first. So now black is... What is going on? Is black lost? I mean, is black completely lost? Maybe not. Oh my goodness, rook takes d2. No. Queen d2. If queen d2, there's e3. So black actually has a rook and a bishop and a pawn for the queen. Black is losing, but not completely losing. Rook d5. g4 preventing rook h5 mate. You can't take the pawn because rook h5, but queen a7. Oh my. White has been granted a queen. White just has a queen. Rook d7 back. Queen b8 check. King f7. White is probably still nervous, by the way. White's like, wait, I'm winning? What is going on? This is nuts. Black now plays e3, and all the advantage is gone. So what white had to do was continue to give checks. And the way to win this position, after something like here, for example, you had to bring your king. You had to bring your king and try to play for queen f6. Because e3 here, you have check, king goes out this way, and the king is just not happy there, all right? King can go here, but you lose the rook. So you had to bring the king, but by giving too many checks, suddenly the pawn is too far, and black is threatening to win the game. So for instance, black can try to win like this, and just sneaking the pawn through, okay? King g3, rook e5, h4, it's an equal game. What is going on? Who is trying to win? Who is trying to lose? It seems like we have a stalemate, right? But black gets a little too careless. And suddenly the king is walking over. Huh. Okay. Queen d1, rook e6, but now the queen is mad. You see, a couple of moves ago, black had a perfect defensive setup. Even before that. But by kind of tangling the pieces and playing with them and moving one back and moving one around, now the queen is mad. And when the queen's mad, the queen's gonna start taking stuff. And when the queen is really mad, she's gonna take everything. Now the queen took all the pawns. Now you get nothing. And I'm just bullying you. You can't move your rook because I'm gonna win your bishop. You can't move your bishop because I'll get to the king, right? Check, attack the bishop, a5, b5. That's it. Just g7. And the 1439 defeats the 2163. A 724-point upset. That is huge.
So is it about what is the secret ingredient? Is it a coaching mix or investing in books? Because look at it, this is just part of my book collection. All these are just
Wow. I think you are giving Kim some competition, yeah, but not yet.
all these are just books plus yours. So
Yeah,
how do you get that strong player?
good. I like that. Yeah, first of all, that's a very good question. Yeah. Let me say this: there's a technique to arriving at the correct place. Okay. The first and foremost, you need to be led by someone who has been there. Okay. For example, if you're coaching a group of people and you are less qualified than them, how will you guide them to that goal where you have not been? Yeah, that's a question people should ask themselves. Okay. Another good thing nowadays, you can do what is called research. Okay. For example, I was seeing another clip whereby Carlsen was recalling a game from memory, and then he was being asked, "Who do you think played this game?" And then he said that this game was played by Tal, and this is what he did. He sacrificed this piece in order to gain some momentum. In fact, he was describing a detailed move.
I'm now going to be showing Magnus some historical chess positions. Let's see if he recognizes them. This position, I bet it looks familiar.
Yeah. This looks an awful lot like Tal Botvinnik. I think the continuation here was probably Queen d5 and then Rook a6 and Tal 1.
Yes. Whoops. Queen.
Okay, this is the 24th game from Seville, obviously.
You got that right. Shall I go on to the next one?
I was literally reading about this. Like, this is the book that is on my bedside table about the Kasparov-Karpov matches.
Does this ring any bells?
Yeah, this is the old mate in one that Chucky missed. So this is Anand Ivanchuk from one of the Intel Rapid tournaments, probably from like 95 or something.
94, I think. But
94, yeah.
yeah, you're completely correct. Now I'm going to play through an opening and stop me when you recognize the game. And if you can tell me who was playing black in this one.
Okay, sure.
Okay. I'm sure you've seen this opening before.
Okay, it's gonna be Anand.
Against
Zapata.
what year?
87, 88, maybe?
88. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Okay, good one. So this is like top 3 worst chess memories that I have. This is the game Carlson Howell from World Youth Championship 2002. I needed to win the last game. I was half a point in front of Jan Nepomniachtchi. The most annoying part I remember about that last round is that Jan Nepomniachtchi was playing against an Indonesian player, Susilo Dinata. I think he played a Caro-Canas black. He had an extra pawn and a great position, and then he just collapsed. And I was losing my advantage as well, and I just remember raging like crazy.
I could
But
tell. Yeah.
obviously, it got David a bronze medal, so that's the good part.
It was all downhill from there. Wow, 19 years ago, and you still remember the game next to you.
I mean, this could have been some bullet game where I played or something.
That's a good guess. That's a good guess.
Probably gonna need a hint.
Okay, it's from the entertainment industry.
It's okay. So Black is down a queen. So from the first Harry Potter movie, they played the Scandinavian, and then they went knight c3, queen c6. So is it from that one?
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done,
Okay.
Magnus. That's impressive.
Needed some serious hints, but
Yeah, but it still could have been anything after the entertainment industry.
good one though. Good
Okay.
one, though. Good one.
For example, you see that book that you have with Eugene, yeah? If I were to tell you to look at game 1, you know what you'll do? You'll take a chessboard, and what you will do? You try to go through the moves using a chessboard. But kids at India who have attained the level of FM, yeah, not using chessboard. They're reading it like a storybook, okay? Because they're doing what is called visualization, the art of playing the game through your head, okay, without using a chessboard. I will recommend there are very few people here in Kenya who can read a book without using a chessboard. Why? Because they are not used to the chessboard, okay? And that's the sad thing where we are. We don't have the correct techniques. Remember, it's something that you see, it's something that you develop. It's not something that you're born with. It's something that you nurture. How to visualize. So you start them small, okay, and then now you start giving them book. So, for example, if I were to break it down in my way, for example, if you're a beginner, just make sure you develop in their mind a lot of patterns. That's why you see the chess beginner has a lot of openings, and then we feature a book from one of the great players like a grandmaster, okay, so that we get the pattern. So some are quicker, like I'm thinking Jadon will be able to do that maybe, or if he hasn't been doing it, he can be able to do that in less than a few months because it just takes practice. Okay, so tell them to understand these different kind of openings. Okay, because remember when you go to a tournament, you play with different kind of people, and nowadays this is what is called creativity. You see, when someone is doing an opening, it doesn't have to start with the d4 or e4. You can start from maybe a g3 and then come back to that D4. Because nowadays there's creativity of going beyond the norms in order to become a better player. So, for example, the technique for training a good player varies with different coaches. But according to me, I'll first take them through the various opening and then give them games played on those opening. Okay? Let them understand the correct way to play a game of chess. And then from there, give them room to develop. And then after you move from the opening, introduce to them some endgame techniques. And then when they've developed a little bit, now introduce some tactics. Yeah. But that is not the order that is applied by different coaches, but everyone has a different style of coaching. But you're looking at results is what counts. If the result works for one student, does not mean to work for the other student. So you first of all need to understand your student. Yeah.
Right. And speaking of understanding students and training techniques, there is, well, there are different schools of thought. There are some trainers or coaches who will emphasize start with the end games. End games are like a definite science. You may survive the opening, the mid game, but if you don't know the end game, you are doomed. So some say it's better off. They view openings as a very, very wide tree. For example, Queen's Gambit alone is so wide, which is interesting because your book appears to be quite heavy on openings. Actually, if I'm not wrong, most of it is opening based. Don't you think this kind of, in a way, of overwhelms or intimidates the player? Or would you rather by openings instead of the Philido, the Gambits? What's your take on just studying systems like London system?
Okay, good. That's a good question. First of all, let me try and remove that assumption. My book is not about opening only, but the entire game. As you can see, for example, on the first opening, like, for example, let me say I've talked about maybe Eva's Gambit, yeah? But it's just a portion of the Eva's Gambit, and then I've given a game there, okay? When you look at Giacopiano, I've just given an opening of it, some few lines, and then beside it, you look at a game played by Nakamura, GM Nakamura on that Giacopiano. Okay? And it is not a portion, it's a complete game, by the way. From opening to middle game and then to end game, where the opponent maybe tends to resign. So illustrating the whole how to handle that opening in a real game. Okay? So that's the thing that many people uh, get it wrong. They think that my book is about just opening. No, no, no. In fact, you see, in that game between Nakamura and another GM, there are tactics. Let me share my screen so that maybe we can try and persuade people not to think like that way. This book, in fact, let me say the disclaimer. This book came in two copies. There's the black and white, and there's the colored copy. Okay. If you can afford the colored copy, this is how it should look like. This is the colored copy. Okay. Uh, remember, these are my, let me take it back. This is the book, and these are my publishers, and this is the colored copy. This is the colored copy. But when it's printed, it's in black and white. So there are two colored copy, but it's more expensive. It's 18.99. But if you have the black and white, it's less cheaper. So it depends with your pocket and how you would afford. So, like I was saying, this book takes a beginner from the beginning. Now, for example, let's look at this game. Or let me look at the game that I was talking about, then the one Giacopiano. You see this opening, what it does, an introduction of the open. This is the Giacopiano, okay? And you're seeing here, this bold, these are the main lines, okay? And then here are the variations, okay? So these
Yeah.
variations are tailored for more an advanced player, okay? For example, Eugene, if you're training a kid who's just a beginner, I will suggest that you just tell them to go through the game first. Okay. Now, when they have developed their skills of playing well, now you take them back and tell them now, try and go through the variations and see if you can understand. Because remember, variation, if you have done programming, it's just the if else statements. Okay. What if this player plays this? What if they play that? what will happen? That's the main intention of variation. Okay, but if he's a beginner, first of all, I'll encourage you go through the bold openings, and then take them out to the game. Okay, because now the game is much simpler for them. Okay, but if your kid is an advanced player who has been playing in tournaments, okay, start feeding them solid things. Take them through the variation first, and then I'll tell them go through the game and ask them puzzles. Give them position. Tell them if you're on this position, what do you think the grandmaster did? Help them to recall what they understand with the game. Okay. Now, for example, this one here is the game between GM Hikaru Nakamura against GM Dimitri Kolas. Okay, and this one is Jacopiano. This is the Jacopiano. So, of course, here these are the opening line. I explain here further what is expected, and then again we continue with the game. And then here the D says this is the diagram. So this is the diagram of that vision. Okay, and then you can see this game the opening to middle game, and then it goes to end game, whereby one of the open does those chooses to resign, and you're giving a reason why they have chose to resign. Now back to your question. My book does not just talk trainings; it looks also at the games, because remember I've been coaching for like 10 years, and I've dealt with different students. Okay, I've dealt with local students and dealt with international students. In fact, I used to work with a school called Kidato School. I used to get a lot of international students. Okay, so I've dealt with different types. I understand how to get them to a level whereby they can be playing comfortable in tournaments. Okay, that's why remember I told you when you go through the book, you understand the patterns of playing the correct system, correct way of playing, and then I said that. Then now go to end game. Okay, also understand the basics of end, so that now if when you combine the two, you are at a level. And then I said that don't stop there. Yeah, book in tactics. This is this book I usually by uh, called Jacob Agard. It's a GM from I think UK. He has written a very book called Combination. I'm telling you that book has some good combination in tactics. Yeah, it will really elevate your game. In fact, I'm telling you, if most of these parents invest a lot of money in coaches, yeah, let's just be honest. Yeah, invest a lot of money in coaches, like let's say 2,000 per hour. Let's be honest. And then called combination. When you order it online, yeah, maybe you'll get it at around is it 5,000 when it's shipped. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that book, like in your library, the kid gets to go over and over. It's like when you're in school. Let me say, academically, why did you perform well? Because you used to revise those textbooks over and over. You did not just through it once. So don't go through a book once and then say that I've read it and I'm not improving. That's a total lie. Repeat the book over and over and over, and come and tell you if you have not improved. And if you have not really improved, then chess is not for you. But don't go through a book just once and then he said that, I've gone through the book, now I'm ready to be a champ. No, no, no. Go through it like 3 times. Cram some position, cram some games. Yeah? And I'm telling you, people like Magana, you'll be upsetting them. So people should stop taking short. If you really want to be good at chess, use the correct way. Go through a book over and over. Yeah. And I bet you by the end of year, he'll be defeating those huge guys in the scene, the likes of Gidinji. In fact, let me tell you something. Yeah, I remember when I was Island's chess club, when I was just coming up. Yeah, they did not know me, and then I went to this tournament organized by Checkmates. I think Checkmates was run by I think Colin Siang and some other guy called Derito and George Mwangi. Checkmates. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I presented tournament, rapid tournament, and I was coming top 3, and they're asking each other, "Who is this guy?" It's only
Eesh.
because because I was going through that class. You see, I was every evening. I was there playing with those who was there. You know that I was very young. I think 18 years. I've just finished high school. 19 years there. So when every evening I used to go there from 4 to 7:38 daily, Monday to Friday. Yeah, and then people tell me that you can't improve by you see by being diligent. Anything needs consistency. Okay, there are no shortcuts and there are techniques, like you have said. Some might say that teaching endgame will help fast, but you see, how will you teach a kid to reach that endgame if he doesn't save the pieces? Maybe they have captured their queen, their rooks, and there's many pieces that can't save them. So how will they reach that endgame when they have not even any pieces to to counter the attack? So they need first of all to start from the tell them to save the pieces, teach them the correct way, and then now having learned that, take them to endgame. This is how you manipulate some tricky position, and then back to tactics. Now that's why you polish it to the fullest.
Very, very well put. Thank you. But now, when playing, we also need to consider there is the winning, winning, winning. But there's sometimes you just have back to back being beaten. Going back to your Olympiad qualifiers, how did you handle those level of? I like to say we don't lose, we learn. We either win or learn. How did you handle that situation? And now transitioning to a coach, how do you teach your players that? Well, it is not just a game because when you look at it as just a game, that is when you start losing it. You need some seriousness, but there is life after chess. Considering there are some parents who actually invest really a lot of cash. Then we've seen in tournaments a parent is not really amused with the outcome of the child's games. Maybe they've had back-to-back defeats. How do you manage child parent expectations and just the reality of you will not win every single game?
That's a very good question. In fact, that is something that I've experienced personally. In fact, there are some games whereby I almost cried. I almost cried, literally tearful. Yeah, but how do you encourage a player or one of your students how to handle losses? That's a very sad thing. But a game of chess takes some energy, mental energy. Yeah, and then it reaches a time whereby you feel like you have not attained whatever you are expecting, and then you feel like a failure. And when you feel like a failure, that's why you feel like crying. In fact, I have students who have cried during tournaments. Okay, so what I've come to realize is this: to prepare them in advance, prepare that student in advance, tell them the reality, tell them that not every game are you going to win, but remember, practice makes perfect. Simply put, every time you lose, take that as a lesson. Train harder, and then when you come back, you'll play much better. Yeah. In fact, I remember Magligeo. There's a time I was playing against him at KCB Open. I think he was still young. I think in 2021, and then I was matched against him. You remember those times I used to have a lot of ego. That sort of thing. I used to be good, and I was playing in KCB Opens or nationals, and I always tell myself I'll always be top 10 no matter what. And to be honest, that's how I was matched Maglegeo, and that time Methu was coaching him. Eh? And then Methu came and told me, hey, yeah, Methu usually call me KD. KD, don't underestimate that young kid. And I was like, that one, in fact, I'll be playing and walking around looking at game because I never took him very seriously. Okay. So, while I was doing that, making a move, like I was taking like less than 10 seconds. I come and look at the chessboard, make a move. I stand up, I walk around. Come and look at the chessboard, take like 5 seconds, make a move, wake up. And then the funny thing is this young lad outwitted me. Yeah. In fact, he was almost winning the game. I had to use a trick. Yeah. In order to draw. In fact, I was the one begging for a draw. Yeah. So in short, I tend to think that just go back for those who have incurred losses in chess. Just go back, look at books, okay, Remember, it's an African American proverb. If you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. That's it. Most of this, you see, you play chess in the streets, you beat some few wazee there, you think you're good. Okay? But in order to be good, you have to look at books. Chess is deep. That's why very few grandmasters. If it was easy, you will have like almost like 10,000 or even 100,000 grandmasters. But you see, you have less than 3,000 grandmasters in the whole world. Okay? Meaning that chess is hard. Yeah.
Okay. And a follow-up question from where you've just left. You've emphasized on books, books, books. Those are must read, and not just once, but several times. There's this new paradigm shift, if I may call it that, in learning chess. There's now the advent of technology. I'm talking about sites like chess.com, chess kid, we have chess, and we are now in the Gen Alpha, yes, the very young, and they're quite tech savvy. What's your take on technology and teaching chess using tech as opposed to the conventional book approach?
Yeah, good. I like that. That's a good question. First of all, let me say that I'm not fighting against technology. In fact, technology is a complement to improving your game of chess. Okay, having said that, nothing can substitute a book. Even if you have like iPads and the likes, but still there'll be those ebooks. Okay, so books will always be there, whether you have iPad or you come from there in rural. Yeah, books will always form the key part of learning. Okay, so for those Gen Z and the Alpha generation, I'll encourage them to use both. Okay, make use of books and make use of software. Okay, I know nowadays there's chess base, but remember, when you always look at the screen, you get tired faster than when looking at a book. That's something that has been proven scientifically. Yeah, so looking at a book hard copy doesn't wear you out. Okay, but also technology is a complement to good learning. Okay, so you make use of chess.com, make use of chess kids, make use of chess tempo for tactics. Yeah, but don't forget the books, because remember, it's a systematic approach to doing the things the right way. Okay, so simply that's what I will say. Use both of them.
All right. Now let's shift gears a bit as we're winding up, and let's talk about administration and leadership. In your book, this is a very good book, by the way. You mentioned you give credit to Chess Kenya, if I may quote it. I would like to acknowledge Chess Kenya Federation for efficiently running many of chess events in Kenya. The able leadership of Chess Kenya Federation has seen tremendous transformation of the game of chess in the country. That is why there was the need to guide the coming generation on sound principles on the game of chess. One of the aims of the federation is to produce a grandmaster in the near future, and that good book is one of the tools to achieve it. Let's talk about the impact of leadership, especially the outgoing office.
Okay, good. Wanwanjala is my friend. In fact, first copies of the book, I went there by myself to hand him my first copy of this book. In fact, I always tell him that he has ego leadership. Remember, this someone has come from a corporate world. He was under some finance department, okay, and now he's taking leadership on a sport that is not even known. Okay, remember, chess right now has paradigm shift. Yeah, you know the paradigm shift means that it is something unexpected, something totally new. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so in terms of leadership, Chess Kenya leadership, Wanjala and the team have really done good in terms of the sport. Okay, but where they have failed is, okay, they have not done enough to spread the game to the grassroots. Okay, for example, being in leadership, we should look at different areas. I approach Kenya for the things they're doing in Kakuma, but Kakuma, that is not Kenya. Those are refugees. What about someone in Bondo, in the villages, in those schools? Remember, chess right now thriving in private schools. Let's be honest. Is it so?
Yeah.
Yeah. Chess is thriving in private schools. But what about public schools? Okay. What are they doing to help the public schools? Okay. So one of the things I think they should have done is trying to introduce chess to public schools by one of this by providing some resources. They can be donating some chess boards. For example, if you donate a chessboard to a school, just 5 of them, at least you're giving them somewhere to start from. Yeah. If you can donate also books, like maybe one book. Yeah. One book. I saw another place in Baringo. The head teacher was saying that in grade 10, they've only got one book and they're expecting like 100 students. Yes. So this is what I'm saying. Just let them start by just donating like 1 or 2 books in these public schools. I'm not talking about private schools because private schools are people that are able to sustain themselves. You know, they have money. But I'm talking about this public school whereby they don't pay school fees. Okay, they depend on the welfare of county governors or something like this. I'm talking about those who are not able to support them in the game of chess. Okay, so what the leadership needs to do is let us grow the game wholeheartedly, like as a whole. The leadership is good, but they could have done better. Okay, I Wendwa, when he came to power in Football Federation, he solicited funds from M-PESA, okay, which will fund teams in the league, a whole sum of 5 million per team. Imagine if your team is in the league, they'll be given 5 million. Imagine. So even in Chess Kenya, as a federation, they should look for sponsors, okay, and then tell them those sponsors we're going to do market your name through our tournaments, or when you deliver some chessboard, we'll put under your names, okay, and then in a way, people in public school love chess. Yeah.
One would argue this is government perspective. The government or now the federation can't do everything, considering there are limited resources, especially cash-wise. There are other players like the Gift of Chess and other well-wishers who support quite in a big way. What's your take on a vehicle as a prize fund? Isn't that supporting just quite well? In fact, in the world, I think the first federation to have such a prize, and it really cost buses. That's marketing and promoting.
Let me ask you, how much was the car?
1.4 M.
Good. Okay, good. Let's translate that in dollars. How much is that in dollars?
That is 10,946. Make it 11.
Okay, good. Good. They just passed World Cup. Okay. The prize fund was $2 million. What is the percentage of that in $2 million? What is the percentage? So you can't say that it's one of the best in the world. No, 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 no. Yeah. In fact, people in US, the US championship, they're winning like $45,000, $60,000, the prize for number one. Yeah. So if you were to translate that, still it doesn't translate to something big. But my point is this: I'm not disputing Chess Kenya is doing a lot. Okay. In fact, giving a car to an individual, that is something that is well accepted, well motivated, and should be encouraged. But look at this in the bigger picture. Why don't you do something for a bigger community? Okay. For example, why don't you increase the price tag of the league money? I was told they were paid 300,000. Why don't you put a zero and say, let's pay them 3 million for number one, and then number two, let's pay them 2 million, And then number 3, let's pay them 1 million. My point is this: it is good that they're doing that, but they're concentrating on an individual. Okay,
Mhm.
you cannot bring a great thing using one individual. Okay, you have to involve a whole big chunk of people. Okay, to bring a better good. I know it's like I'm looking like I'm a critic, but I'm calling the kettle black as it is. Yeah, if you want to make an impact by giving someone a car, an individual, then it is only fair that if you give a team, a group of team members, yeah, something like 3 cars, or each member a car. Yeah, they won the league. Why don't we give them each a car? Then that one making big impact. So I'm saying that they are doing good. They're doing much better than the previous regimes, because there's Andolos, there's the Kimbaris, there's the Gidinjis. They are doing much better. Okay,
Mhm.
but we want to let corporates into this small chunk of chess, this a small portion. Yeah, we need to tell them that if they're investing in chess by bringing in a team, they're also getting a reward. Okay, by getting what? 3 million for the team if they win the league. Simply put. And Eugene, can I tell you something? In the corporate world, they usually like to look at your budget. Okay, if you're playing with 2 million budget, they know that then this guy, let's give him 3 million. But if you're playing with like 100 million budget, like golf, hey, do you know how much golf is sponsored in Kenya? Almost 100 million plus. Yeah, so that's the thing. So let them improve how they're rewarding the top teams. Okay, because that budget is what is shared with corporates, telling them that this is a budget, this is how much we paid last year. And then those people who are in the corporate, they'll say, like, okay, this guy, they use like 50 million, and this is how we'll get our marketing back by the name awareness, something like that. And then maybe they say, like, okay, let us do what? Invest. Yeah. But the future is bright. The future is bright. Yeah.
Speaking of the future and it being bright, as we come to a close, chess is now finally, after intensive lobbying, chess is now finally incorporated in the CBC, that is the competency based curriculum in Kenya. And it's now officially starting as part of the term 2 games for the primary and secondary school games. I think it's a step in the right direction and part of positive leadership and community working together in concert with the government. What's your take on that?
Wow. In fact, that's a giant step. In fact, kudos to everyone who was involved. Chess Kenya, the teachers, the chess players who lobbied for it to be clear in the curriculum. Yeah. So that is just a first step. So the next step, we need to try and make an impact so that chess is included as a curriculum. I'm told that schools maybe in Europe, I think in like Serbia or is it Slovenia, they're taking chess as part of a curriculum, as a subject. That's what I'm saying, not as a sport, but as a subject, because they know the value of chess, what it does to a person, how it improves their cognitive awareness, okay, how it improves their memory, memorization, and capability to critical think about issues, how it balance mental prowess in one way or the other. So my hope and prayer is that now chess will move now to the next stage, whereby it will be incorporated as a subject. Okay, whereby we're saying that let's teach it, and I saw the chess. Okay, has not been also included as a sport for the lower grades, only for the upper kids. Yeah, yeah. So I'm championing for it to be wholeheartedly accepted, maybe as a PE or subject, something like like what you do PE. Eh? Maybe they say this subject is for chess, something like that. Whereby they say this is PE, now they say this is chess. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Okay,
Armenia, for example,
yes, I
chess
mean, yeah.
compulsory subject.
Yes,
The way
Armenia. Yeah, I was saying Armenia. Yeah, Armenia and some other school. I can't remember.
all right. So,
Yeah.
I think that is a wonderful way to not end this, just to put a pause on this discussion. Maybe you can just give us some more details on the book. Where can one buy it, the price, and your social
Mm.
media, as well as your parting shot.
Okay, good. First of all, thank you for having me here. Like I said, it's a commendable thing you're doing. And I really appreciate you, and we really appreciate you. Many may not say it, but we really appreciate you, especially those who are in office. Yeah, let me say this. Chess Kenya officials appreciate you because what you are doing, you're spreading the game of chess and they're benefiting. The more people they play chess, the better for them also for revenue. Yeah, that's the sure thing. Okay. Okay. About the book, right now, I am the one distributing with the help of my team. There's a pay bill and how you can get it. Yeah, the book. So my social handles use Coach B Chess Academy. We are Instagram. Just type Coach B Chess Academy. You will find us. In fact, this is a good time to tell you guys to follow us. Follow us because our team usually posts some puzzles and some games whereby you can learn. I think sometimes they do it weekly or twice a week. So just follow us and get more updates on that. Also in Facebook, we have a page called Coach Beaches Academy. Yeah, you can find us also on Facebook. We're not yet in Twitter, but we're looking prospect of moving also to Twitter or rather known as X, and also on Thread. Also looking for ways to come also into what is called Threads. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. That has been Coach Brian Adorwa, everybody. His parting shot is that this improvement is all about intentionality and creating a reading culture, especially amongst our children. It's not about completely facing away technology, because we need to strike a balance, but creating a reading culture, and not just reading a book once and for all. It's about reading the book from cover to cover, not like a storybook, but it's about actually understanding, seeking counsel from coaches like himself, then playing and implementing the lessons learned. He says it will not be a one-off approach. You read it and then you'll become a champion in the next like 2 days or 2 weeks. Chess is a journey, and with it comes uphill and downhill. So us is just to say thank you so much for the good work Coach Brian Adoro is putting in, and like-minded professionals. Special thanks to the Chess Kenya Federation for the spearheading of chess in Kenya, and without forgetting Coach Brian Kidula, who did the forward and was the technical writer of this amazing book. A special thank you, and see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.